great product this year. So first, I want you to give a round of applause for my team. I think they we had a challenging year, but we're growing. Meteocontrol, we started here in end of 2018. Jorge and I in a small office in Richmond, big German company, world presence, send us to Australia, go try to find what's happening in Australia, what's happening in this market. Today we are 8 people, and next year we're planning to be 28. Well, Meteocontrol globally decided, and it will be announced today. We will be designing the storage and the VPP platform for Meteocontrol worldwide. So again, shout out to my team. They work very hard. And guys, you make it happen. So thank you. Also, we got a partner a new partner, a new relationship, Adam from Redgrid. Whoever ever met Adam, please meet Adam. We met Adam. We all met Adam. Everybody met Adam. Everyone met Adam. Okay, we didn't meet Adam, but we're gonna have a discussion about it. I met Adam very briefly 3 years ago in a startup bootcamp. Very impressive company. Was aligned with what we're doing, technology and Internet of Things. And I'm glad that you joined us, and we signed a partnership, an MOU for a partnership, and we will work together to expand our offering here of Meteocontrol into the whole market. So without further, let me bring Adam to the stage.
Thanks, David. Awesome. Thank you.
I'll give them a microphone.
I've got this one here. So can anyone hear me okay? Yeah, fantastic. Jorge's going to give us some presentation. Thank you, David, so much. Yeah, we met 2 years ago when Startup Bootcamp was happening, and it was this kind of crazy time when we're trying to get our company off the ground. And now it's still a crazy time when we're trying to get our company off the ground. We're really, but it's really exciting to be here, and for all of us who've been in startups, essentially Meteocontrol Australia was a startup, right? You have to build it from the ground up, and Dave and I are reconnected on that, and it's just been awesome to be here and be able to work with you guys on this. So I'm going to do, when Jorge's done his magic, we're going to speak through kind of, an understanding of where do we think this energy thing could go. And we're not going to be talking about the stuff that we saw at the conference today. We're going to be talking about very different things like Marty McFly, like NFTs, refugee camps in Rwanda. So just kind of keeping it really focused. So what I'd like to do is really kind of explain. I'm here with my team, so I've got Marco, we've got Brooke, we've got Haley here, so all from the Redgrid team, and we're really excited because one of the key things we want to talk about is how do we build a new energy transaction system. So I'm going to wait for Jorge to hit one more button, and then hopefully a magical DeLorean is going to appear. Just crashing through that back wall. But to start with, okay, so look, we founded Redgrid 2018. We had this crazy idea to have a full transactive energy market happening from the device level up, and that things could talk to each other in DLs that we didn't have understanding of so far. That these kind of DLs would actually understand each other, start to transact, and create essentially what a virtual microgrid would be. And so we always had this crazy idea as well that we'd launch a crypto token. And we launched a crowd raise funding in 2019, and we put in the paper there, for good or for bad, that we would be, just mirror displays, so you can see this one, that we'd be launching this crypto token, and we just did that. And so we're really excited about that because we told everyone we'd do it, and now we did it, which is really cool when you're a startup. So we're going to talk about Back to the Future. And this is really important because it was actually, about 6 years ago that we had the Back to the Future Day. This was the day, Back to the Future 2, they said, actually, this is where we're going to be. In fact, we're going to speak here, I'm going to talk about here. This is actually, we're going to have flying ships, flying cars and stuff by this point. But what's really cool is actually, it was this day, 32 years ago, on December the 7th, the Back to the Future 2 was released in the US. How nuts is that? Thank you, Joanne, for organizing it today to do it. How cool is that? Of course, it was all planned and completely intentional. So the cool thing about this is, yes, it was 32 years ago. That was a year after the first Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change met. We already surpassed 350 parts per million carbon. And so even before this was out, we knew what was going on. And if you think about how dated now it really feels, you look at this film, this is the kind of key bits we're trying to deal with. So we don't have the flying DeLorean, we don't have hoverboards, and we don't get all our energy needs from sticking banana peel in this thing at the top, which would be awesome if we could. But we're going to have some crazy stuff happening in the next 8 years, because we know everything is going to be electric. We are moving to full electrification. This is the way the world is going to go. But if we hit net zero by 2050, the IEA projects that we're going to have about $1.2 trillion worth of the energy coming from solar, coming from fuel cells, coming from all the kind of different technologies we have annually. That's what the market's going to be worth annually by 2050. So we've got this incredible opportunity to dive into this and make it really, really work. But there's a key problem here, and that is that all of these DERs, as they come into the grid, that we're going to see emerging, as we talk about this all throughout the conference today, is that it's really hard to understand how those are going to interact and be interoperable with each other, so we have supply and demand working at the right times. Because right now, there's a huge bottleneck for what is going to happen in the grid. So to understand that, we've kind of got to go back to another really important transition time. If we think it's radical in the 2020s, think about this. These dudes were around in 1880, where there were still people riding horses and cowboys and all this kind of stuff happening in the world. If you took Alexander Graham Bell, the inventor of the telephone on the left, and we took him from 1880 and we stuck him into 2021, he have no idea what he's holding in his hands. That is a crazy supercomputer. He'd have no idea. If you took Thomas Edison on the right, from 1880s, stuck him in 2021, he'd pretty much see the same thing. Right? It's a one-way distribution grid where they've got more DERs coming into the grid, but right now, it's still predominantly fossil fuels, still going one way. And this is the challenge we have. That we've gone through this incredible revolution in cell phones. In fact, the fastest growing technology in the history of humankind, the mobile phone. So we still have this in 2021. 32 years after the DeLorean was premiered. Our grid cannot adapt physically, we know that, we've got to adapt digitally. And if we're thinking about digital, what is the thing that's really made the big difference in the world we live in today? Now we're here in person. What have we done for the last 2 years? Speech and film, Zoom and Teams talking to each other. It's the internet. So we actually think one of the biggest things we need to do is create the equivalent of the internet, of information for the internet of energy. Open source, highway, where people and entities and devices can actually interact with each other really, really easily, and enable them to understand each other, talk to each other, compare, and transact with each other in a seamless environment. And one of the things that's really important about the internet is that actually, Vince Cerf came up with this when he and Tim Berners-Lee were inventing it, is the most powerful thing they could do is make it open source. Just give it away. Say, hey, cool, this is it. This is what we're doing. Developing an internet of energy that's open source that anyone can use. And this is part of the conversation that David and the team and I have been having recently. So what we're really interested in here is how do we deal with an internet of energy that's very complex and start making something that's actually real and normal. The internet has been a full transition of how we interact with each other. Funnily enough, there's another transition that's happening at the moment, and that is of money. And what's really important here is we are now moving in this weird world where we think these crazy cryptocurrencies are doing really wacky and wild things. Or just how wacky it was when someone says, let's trade these little gold bars of metal instead of trading and bartering cows. That seems kind of crazy as well. So we come on this really interesting evolution of money all the way through to metal coins, yes, but paper money for a long time, and plastic cards in the early 20th century, electronic money in 1994, 2009, the advent of Bitcoin. What's really interesting about this is 2009, okay, that's when Bitcoin came around. If you got a few Bitcoin from 2009, you're doing really well right now. I don't have any Bitcoin from 2009. I'd be very happy if I did. Probably wouldn't be having a startup, I'd be in Barbados or something. But the important thing about it is we've got this point where cryptocurrency is very mainstream and it's worth $3.3 trillion, the whole market. It's just gone past that. So that's bigger than Apple as a company. Right? So we're in this weird place where this thing was made up by someone we don't know in 2009, and now the whole economy is worth $3.3 trillion. So there's 200 million people using this right now, and what's really important is that we think about the way that Bitcoin's going to go, or the way that cryptocurrencies, more importantly, are going to go, is that these individual currencies by themselves are quite interesting, but the sector as a whole is hugely interesting. And so one of the important things here is it's not speculation, it's application of what these technologies can do in the future. And that's where we started to build our approach. Now, MasterCard, PayPal, Square are all working with different kinds of blockchain. Visa has got 24 odd companies working on blockchain kind of solutions. We're opening conversations with them about what we can do with iron. There's a bunch of things happening. And energy, if you think about it, is just another currency. Because energy is it's a flowing system of value that goes between you. Yes, there are physical constraints, but there's something that attaches to this, which is about how people interact with it, just the way we interact with digital financial mechanisms now and how we interact with cryptocurrency. So what we think is, maybe there's a really important thing to think about how Yuval Harari wrote in *Sapiens*. He said that the money is anything that people are willing to use in order to represent systematically the value of other things for the purpose of exchanging goods. It's not banks, notes, and coins. It's just not, we're just used to that. So how can we turn something like this into something that's important for energy? Well, for energy, there's an underlying principle that we've got to match the current electricity to the currency that we use to pay for it. So how do we do that? We build something new that sits on top of that. And that's what we're trying to push forward with the Internet of Energy Network. There's still 2 billion people who don't have access to good electricity, and there's 1.7 billion adults who are unbanked. That's an incredible coalition and group of people that can both benefit from energy and from new financial services. And that's what the CEO of Visa is talking about. They're seeing cryptocurrencies as a way to engage the people who don't have standard currencies. So how can we pull this together? Well, it's really nice talking about cryptocurrencies and how this can fit together. We think that there's one thing that really makes all of this work really well, and that's community. So if you have community working on this, you can start to build something that really makes sense. And so when we think about communities, it's about seamlessly integrating electricity systems, about financial systems of value. So if you think about financial systems of value, that's carbon, it's net zero emissions, it's grid balancing, of course, it's electricity. All those things are just currencies or different things that we can apply a metric to in the new energy world. So how do we think it stays all together? Well, it is community, but it's also this. Fortnite. Have you ever played Fortnite? If hands up who's played Fortnite? Okay, so if you, Marco, you can hold your hand up higher than that. You know, I played a bit of Fortnite. Yeah, so during COVID, I was like, you know what? I think this metaverse thing's got something happening, so I really got into playing Fortnite. And I realized how terrible I was, and that every time I was getting beaten by like an 8-year-old, I thought maybe I won't play Fortnite. I also had a brand new baby, so my wife didn't get the best use of my time, which is fair enough. But as I was playing it, I was like, there is this thing that you can play that is totally free. And you can enjoy it, you can play it, whatever, but people are spending vast amounts of money on this, buying skins. There are also bands performing in Fortnite, real rock bands playing in Fortnite, getting paid more to perform in the metaverse than they get paid to perform in reality. And so there is this idea here that we are moving into a metaverse, the combination of the physical and the virtual is completely intertwined. And in energy, we're doing a similar thing. Digital energy, the physical nature of the physics of energy, and the digital nature of how we can represent the value. So what's the metaverse going to look like? You know what? Some people say it's going to be worth $8 trillion in the next few years. Some people say it's going to be worth absolutely nothing. But Facebook just rebranded to the Meta platform, Meta Network, and that share price went up 9%. Disney has now just released Disney Metaverse. This stuff is real, and it's coming. And in fact, we've just delivered the world's first non-fungible token in the metaverse to support mini-grids in developing countries from crypto investors' money. So what we did is we basically said, hey, that was me playing with my mouse earlier. You can basically say to these investors, hey, do you want to take some of your yield you're getting in crypto and donate it to a mini-grid in a developing country? This happens to be in Rwanda. This is a topography of the Rwanda, of where the refugee camp is in Rwanda, and these are lovely shiny things that our designers put on top. But the key bit here is that this is a thing people are paying for because this is exclusive, it's lodged on the blockchain, there's only a certain amount of them that can never be created again. And we're seeing there's so much money in this crypto space, how can we channel that into clean energy? And this mimics the project we did in 2018 with soul sharing in Bangladesh. We've got new projects open in Bangladesh and Haiti soon as well. But it's just an example of how something that is kind of gimmicky in some ways. This is a token people get that turns into real value for someone else. And that's what I mean about an energy community. It's sharing energy and ideas in a different way. And so that's why we're really excited to be here today to announce, as David said, a partnership, to work together to create this partnership with Meteocontrol, because we have a similar fundamental philosophy on this. You can open source, and you can white label, and you can get a whole bunch of these different devices talking to each other. And for us, this represents an incredible leap forward for where clean energy is going to go, right? Fantastic hardware, fantastic software, matched with a great transactive system that brings people together. So, really excited to be here. Thank you for hosting us, David. It's wonderful to be here. I think one of the last things is that Bill Gates said, it's easy to overestimate the change that will occur in the next 2 years, and easy to underestimate the change that will occur in the next 10 years. We've got 8 years to get to net zero. So we've got a lot of change that's going to come. But I think with the kinds of groups of people we have here, the partnerships that are being formed, there's an absolute amazing opportunity and an imperative to get that done. And what's really cool is you get to put up more pictures of flying cars, and hopefully by 2030, it's actual flying cars that we can come to the conference in. So we've got a great panel. I want to say thank you very much. Thank you for having us, and really excited to be in this discussion. So we've got a panel now with Brian and with Chris. We've got about 11 minutes on our panel discussion, so come on up. And David's going to join us as well, I think.
Pull out the vintage.
Oh, the vintage Redwood shirt. Look at this. This is original crowd equity.
Pre-NFT, it's all beaten up from COVID. This shirt's all
Pre-NFT. So look, this quick panel discussion is really to say, okay, what can we do? What are the key things that you guys see over the horizon? So maybe we'll start with Chris. Like, Chris, what do you see is coming over the horizon? Can you give a quick introduction of who you are? What's coming over the horizon that no one else is thinking about that you're seeing in your business?
I'm Chris Wallen. I run the Community Battery Project in North Fitzroy. It's going to go live on World Environment Day, Sunday, the 5th of June next year. So be there.
Nice. That's awesome.
It's independently owned. We're setting up all the commercial relationships, and we just so we're in the process of making it all happen right now. To answer your question, so with community batteries, so that's basically a battery system sitting in the street instead of sitting in people's carport. Much better use of the equipment, and it's a technological transformation, but it's a social revolution at the same time. And that suddenly neighbors are starting to talk about the neighborhood battery instead of the weather. Actually, they start talking to each other, and I'm seeing this live. In fact, I have to leave in a few minutes because I'm going to talk to the local community where we're going to install this battery. And the interest is so high. People want to be part of this. They want to actually go beyond the panels where their energy stops at the boundaries of their property. They want to go beyond that, and that's the community battery. So I see that this is going to pop up like mushrooms all over the place. That's what I bet on.
That's cool. It's like it's a wave that's coming that is coming faster than we imagined it is. Yeah, wonderful. Brian, what do you think? What's coming over the horizon? So, a quick introduction of your context.
Hi, I'm Brian. I'm the managing director of FinTech at Startup Bootcamp Australia. I'm also on the board of FinTech Australia. And I've known Adam since he came through the program at Startup Bootcamp, which is why I have the shirt. You can all be jealous. I just want to quickly say that I'm terrified talking to energy people because you were all far smarter than me. The moment you all start talking about load distribution, I'm like, ooh. Just the biggest thing that we're seeing is the intersection between, you basically just gave a whole talk on this, but the intersection between FinTech and energy, there used to be an intersection, and then there was a bit of melding, and now there's just complete overlap. And if you look at what's coming out of not even COP26, you go back to COP24 and you talk about carbon markets, and you start looking at where the intersection of finance and energy starts coming in. And that's one example. But there is so many different connection points and overlaps between these areas that what I think a lot of people miss as people are starting to look at how can they be more sustainable, how can they be more carbon neutral, how can they take larger control of themselves. The largest individual decision that anybody can make is your finances. It's where you bank, it's where you put your superannuation, it's where do you invest, it's all those different pieces. That's the largest individual contribution you can make. And we've seen this trend for years, and I'm giving this away like 2 days before, so I hope I'm not gonna get in trouble, but,
We are
like,
live, by the way.
we are live, so I'm not gonna say what I was gonna say, thank you so much. There's a big announcement in 2 days, at our Startup Bootcamp Demo Day on Thursday. But what I can say is we're launching a big new push on sustainable fintech, because it is the future, and it is the change that we're seeing on how people can interact. And so, as Adam knows, energy is the largest part of our business in Australia, but there's this constant connection between those points. And that's just one side of it. But it's not the only side. And I was talking to Adam about this, and just to get a little boring and regulatory for a second. If anybody, quick show of hands, anybody's heard of consumer data rights, CDR? Well, you should, because it's coming for energy very, very quickly. So it's going through, the consumer data rights is the GDPR-esque, the open banking-esque of Australia. But it started in finance, and energy is next. And what we're seeing over and over again is that these different pushes that are touching the finance sector are starting there, but they're not ending there, and they're moving to other portions of industry, and energy is constantly being the one that's coming to. So I guess those are some of the things I'm kind of really excited
Yeah,
about.
that's a beautiful, and it leads really nicely to David actually, because privacy and data, that's one of the biggest
Yep.
things and that we have to consider, because this is coming, right, this tidal wave.
Yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So when we speak about energy, let's say 2030, I think today we're consuming, let's say, telecom in a different way. I still remember that we had a phone at home, and I had to tell somebody that I'm leaving and I'm meeting in a certain time. Cryptocurrency, like, who got a wallet here? Wow. Who's paying with his phone today? Okay. So the way that we transact today is different. And it also will bring it to energy. And that's what we're doing here. We are a data company that we are very sensitive to the cybersecurity and what damage it can do if somebody unauthorized will tap into it. So we try to complete and to help to this transition by providing the data in a reliable, in a private manner, in agreeable manner when we don't manipulate the data for our commercial needs, and allow us as customers to develop a different energy market that we consume energy from a power plant a few hundred kilometers in the east and consume it in Melbourne. We believe that part of the energy transition, when cars will be electrified, generators, homes will be generators. We used to be customers. Today, I'm a generator. We make sure that this transition and this interesting advanced market will be here and in a secure and honor and manner.
Absolutely. So we're wrapping. We're going to wrap up. I just want to get you guys, Chris. Do you have what's your prediction? I know predictions are very dangerous. What's your prediction? And using no more than 10 words about what our energy communities are going to look like within the next 5 years. Say.
We're going to have an energy bank where you trade kilowatt hours, basically. And that's how money and energy will actually converge. There are people already starting to think about how to make that happen, but they're on the other side of the world at the moment. We haven't come very far here yet, but that was what it takes.
Yeah, that's good though. An energy bank in the next 5 words, in the next 5 years. Brian, what are you?
Counting my words. Embedded, decentralized, where individuals hold value through what they produce.
Nice. Ah, straight on 10 words. Now, by the way, these questions have not been prepped, so.
Counting.
I think it will be energy for individuals, not more big companies. I think it will be much more distributed, and we all gonna be part of this transition.
Yeah, wonderful. The community-led transition, but using technology to get us there. Yes, absolutely. All right, we're going to break and say thank you very much. Thank you to the panel, and realize you've got some calls to make in 4 minutes. So we're going to break and have some drinks. Thank you again for having us, David. Thank you again. Thanks, man. I really appreciate it. a special treat, and it's not for more of me. So, special treat for you this evening. Our guest entertainer is David. He's going to be doing a stand-up comedian. Our guest entertainer tonight is one of Australia's stand-up comedians. He's a multi-award winner. He's performed with rave reviews around the country and around the world. So you may have seen him on the Melbourne International Comedy Festival Gala. Maybe I've seen him as well for the last couple of years. And he's here with us tonight. Ladies and gentlemen, please put your hands together for the brilliant comedy stylings of Daniel Connell.
Are you all good? Is everybody going good? Tuesday night? Okay, great. That's excellent. That's a great response. That's what you want to hear straight off the top. No one say a word. It's lovely to see you all. Hope you all had a nice Tuesday. Give us a tune if you knew there was a stand-up comedian coming tonight. Yeah. Okay, that's great. 6 people knew about me.